Hey, I'm Bill Gross, and this is a short video on the top takeaways from the National Association of Realtors 2023 profile of home buyers and sellers. I've been in this business for 37 years, and there's a lot of truisms and historical facts that are similar, but our economy is changing and the industry is changing very quickly. The National Association of Realtors, an organization I'm a member of as a realtor, does a survey of buyers and sellers to try to establish what is the changes, what's going on in the marketplace. I think they did a great job on the data. I think they missed some of the conclusions. So I'm going to walk you through some of those today on my overview and the top takeaways. Let's take theirs and we'll go one by one. First, they say household income jumped among successful home buyers. That's certainly true. The data speaks for itself. You can see that of all buyers, the average income went from $88,000 to $107,000 in a 1-year period. That's a tremendous, that's 19% increase in income. Now, inflation was probably 8, 10%, 12%. And you can see first-time buyers went from 71 to 95. That's a $24,000 increase among first-time buyers. It's over a 33% increase in the income to buy a property. Repeat buyers, not as much, up about 15,000 or 15%. So really the one to focus in on is the first-time home buyers. And first-time home buyers really have to reach the most because they don't have the equity that grew from their properties. So the takeaway from this is, one, the market is turning into have and have-nots. Haves that have equity, and then they can buy more with the equity because it's gone up in value. And in income, whereas housing was the American dream and everybody had the hope of housing, you can see with these jumps in income requirements of in 1 year over 30%, we're becoming a society in America where there'll be the wealthy who can afford houses and the renters who can't. And that's the reality here that just, to me, jumps off the page. Number two is the down payment required has jumped up. Now, I think if you look at the graph, that's an overstatement. We're at 8%. We've been 9% back in 1995. It seems like it's been in that range over time. But since the 2008 debacle, it's gone up. I think their buyers got used to no money down. And there's certainly a lot of FHA. 3% down is still striking for first-time buyers. Amongst all buyers, it's at 19%, and that's risen. It had been down as low as, say, 15% back in the early 2010s. But in years past, it had always been over 20%. And so what we have now is an economy that's really addicted. The takeaway here should be the down payment system, the financing system, has forced buyers to be addicted to government financing, where there is FHA with 3% down and Fannie Mae, Freddie Mac-based products with PMI allowing less than 10% down, less than 20% down payments. That's what's driving the market. Over half the buyers on trade-ups are still putting less than 20% down. So it tells you that the government financing has just taken over the mortgage industry overall. Now, number three is first-time home buyers rose this year, but take a look at that number compared to years past. And you'll see historically it's very low, and you can see the trend line is down. So we had an uptick as a result of the post-pandemic period, but we're right back to below that line that had been declining. And so I think the takeaway properly here should be that less and less first-time buyers are getting into properties, or they're getting to be less and less of the percentage of the buyers. And we are really getting into a two-tier market, those who have houses and those who don't. And it's going to get, as the number of buyers declines first time, it's going to get harder and harder because those with equity will rise and they'll have more money, and the people without will have less. So this is a very troubling sign for the stability of our society. Now, this one to me was really shocking. And has been way underreported. The share of married couples in the housing market continues to decline. It says ease. It's interesting. This is easing. To me, that looks like a decline. Well, singles, especially single women, rise. And that was a shocking number. Take a look at this graph. There's a lot of political turmoil over women's pay. But you can see that single women are 19% of home buyers. Single men are well less than that, about 9%. So single women are twice as likely to own a house as a single man is. And you can see that married couples are 59% overall. And then down you look below, other, I'm not sure what other is rising 3%. And then unmarried couples is also at 9%. So single men and unmarried couples are at 9%. Single women are at 19% of all home buyers. That's a tremendous rise. They certainly don't represent 19% of the population. That is a tremendous number, and one that has increased over time. It had been down as low as 12%, but is a significant factor difference in our economy. Number 5 is the drop in children. People are buying homes. Now, this graph is kind of a fake graph because it goes from 60 to 20%. Should go from 0 to 100. So because this range, 20 to 60, is only 40% of 100%, it inflates the differences by 2.5 times. So this looks more dramatic than it should be. But still, the share of buyers over time had gone from almost 60% down to 30.5%. Or half as many home buyers have kids under 18 as used to have. So when I started in my career, went to new home tracks, you would see families with kids were the ones who were buying houses. And that was about 60%. Now, that's about 30%. They're the vast minority of that group. And again, we go back up and see there are more single women, single men, unmarried couples, and couples without children are more and more. One of the trends they notice is multi-generational buying is a sticky trend. Another way of saying it hasn't had any significant change. I don't think that's really, I think it's an overstatement as to significance here. That multi-generation just means that family members are buying property with parents, and the parents are living in the houses. That used to be a good thing. It used to be how people, would retire. Grandparents would be in the house, help raise the kids. They could keep an eye on grandparents. Now we are very quick to put them off into institutions. Here's an interesting factoid. Distance moved and location coming back to pre-COVID norms. Again, like everything in the economy, the COVID period has some aberrations and changes. But we had this trend where people were moving on average about 10 miles when they moved. And now that's dropped to 20. And so I still think we have kind of the post-pandemic transition ending, but not ended yet. You can see during the pandemic, the average distance traveled was over 5 times as great, which really just meant more people were changing states than had ever happened before. Here's a stat that, as a realtor, is underreported, I think, that buyers use agents 89% of the time, about 9% of the time. It's because it's hard to buy a house. It's hard as an agent to close a deal. And the same is true with sellers, 89%. And those numbers have only slightly increased for all the talk with all the technology, all the bravado. I have a YouTube on why I hate Redfin, and you should too. For all the talk about Redfin going to replace agents and replace it with a new model and all the AI and all the technology, the real focus should be on that all the technology has empowered agents to do more and help their customers more, because the result in my career of the last 37 years is the percentage of buyers using agents and sellers has only gone up. And I don't see that changing. So those are the results of the National Association of Realtor survey. They do this every year. I think these are important trends to keep an eye on. If I can help, if you have any questions, call me, Bill Gross. I am at Bill Gross Probate on social media. And make today your best